You know, we've told all the candidates to pick a meal, and dine with us. You wanted to have this meal that's being served to veterans today. You spent some time with the veterans. Why is that so important to you?
So I always bring people back to see veterans because too many of them, like here, came home and suddenly they're homeless. They don't have a job. Because when you come back from war, it impacts you. And so therefore, I just wanted to bring you here to see the double the citizen, but also to understand, as I know you do, that there's a lot more to be done for vets to take care of them. That's the reason.
Do you think you can beat Pat Toomey this time?
I don't want to just win. I want to govern. And you can't govern, or you can't be a good captain of a ship if you don't have the trust of the crew or the trust of Pennsylvanians.
Speaking of captain of the ship, your father served in the Navy as well, and you sort of followed in his footsteps. And you've spoken before about your deep admiration for your father. Tell me about that, and why has that pushed you to do what you've been doing in your life and career?
My father's an immigrant from Czechoslovakia. Best man I ever met. I watched him as I was 9 years old or so. Out there in the cold, I was with him. I could take about an hour trying to fix a battery, and he finally said, "Joe, go in. You're just a little cold. Warm up." I watched him stay outside and just continue to work away at it. I know it's a small example, but he raised 8 kids, and he used to sit there at the table and say, "Penny for college, penny for food." I've never met a more selfless man.
You're married to Susan, your daughter, Alexandra, and you spoke that she's had a hard fight in her life at a very young age. She fought cancer, brain cancer. What has that fight taught you, and how are you working to make sure Pennsylvanian lives are better because of what you've learned from her fight?
My daughter, I went off to the war, came home. It's gone about 12 months in total, and when I came back a bit after that, she was struck at the age of 4 with this malignant brain cancer, and it changed my life. I mean, I hadn't gotten married till I was 47, couldn't convince anyone, but I got married, and she was my child. The first brain operation was at Walter Reed Military Hospital. The doctor came out and said, "We couldn't get it." I said, "What's it mean?" He says, "It looks like it's glioblastoma." I didn't know what it was. I said, "What's that mean?" He says, "She's probably got about 3 or so months left." I walked outside Walter Reed and looked up at the sky as any father would and said, "Hey, good Lord, take me instead." It doesn't work that way. Went back in, and that little warrior fought. And she's here today because of the health care plan we have. So it changed my life. I got out, took care of her. And then I got into Congress to fight for universal health care for everybody. And that's why I owe this country by continuing to serve. And that really did change my life.
You supported the Iran nuke deal, but a lot of people are concerned about whether we will hold Iran accountable. How do you plan to make sure we do?
I believe in what you just said. Expect what you inspect, is what we say in the Navy. I'm really tougher on that than President Reagan was, who said, "Trust but verify." I say verify before you trust. Iran was about to get a nuclear bomb, 4 of them in 30 days. And now all that nuclear material has been removed from the country. It would take them at least a year before they could get back to that 30-day period. And now there's over 150 people that can go in at a moment's notice and inspect the 7 facilities that they were using at one moment of time to enrich uranium and other types of assets.
Do you think it's enough oversight?
They not only have that, but they also have foolproof technology that sits there when no one is there. And if you try to tamper with something, an alarm goes all the way back to where the headquarters are. Is anything perfect? No. Because the military option is still on the table. But please, I tell people, understand this. Most of the strikes will have to be by the United States Navy's carrier air force, carrier fighting forces. We cannot find in the Persian Gulf the 19 mini submarines of the Iranians. Our sonar doesn't work in the Persian Gulf. So we will extract our Navy. And from a distance, we will begin the strikes if we must, and we will if we must, to stop them to have it. But it will take us weeks and months in order to destroy for 4 years at most those facilities that they have, because they're embedded under 300 feet of rock, some of them. And we're going to have to beat down first surface-to-air missiles so that we can then destroy surface-to-surface missiles that can strike Israel today. And once those weeks are done, then we'll strike it. We can do it. But it will make the aftermath of Iraq look like a cakewalk for the global war of terror. So that's why I say, why not give this diplomacy opportunity to work without a loss of life.
You can tout your military experience, your national security, your foreign policy experience, but some of your critics have said your personality is a little bit prickly. That's how they describe you. What do you make of that?
Oh, you've spoken to my wife?
I have not.
Well, she must have known something. I proposed to her, and 8 years later she said yes. I work very hard. How could I not? Our economy spun down, and we had to salvage people and the economy. 1,000 people came in with home foreclosures and sheriff sales. We salvaged and saved about over 2/3 of them. Was it hard work? Yes, it was, but I took 50 interns from surrounding colleges and placed my staff to work. Only 5.5 days that we could rotate them through. And that's how we do things. Demanding, how could it not be?
Jackie Cain, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.